Well, we are now joined by Mr. Eylon Levy, former spokesperson for the State of Israel and international media advisor to the President of Israel and head of the Israeli citizen spokespersons. Thank you very much for giving us your time. Mr. Levy, would you say that this is, how Israel has finally been able to avenge the massacre, the death of innocent civilians? Big success for sure.
This is huge news. It is a major blow to Hamas, but it's not the end of Hamas. Over the last year, Israel has eliminated the entire leadership of the terror organization responsible for the October 7th massacre. And we have to make sure that what happens now is the surrender of Hamas. Hamas has lost the war. All it needs is the world's help to understand it. Hamas must lay down its arms, release all the hostages, and allow the war that Sinwar started to end, because it has been going on for far too long. We need to turn a new leaf and move towards a better future without Hamas.
Now, the statement issued by Benjamin Netanyahu makes it absolutely clear that this is not the end of the war. He, in fact, said this is the beginning of the end. What would it take for this war to end?
Hamas must lay down its arms and release the hostages. As simple as that. Those have been Israel's goals since the October 7th massacre, to bring Hamas down and to bring the hostages home. We need this war to end with every single one of the 101 hostages back with their families, and we need it to end with Hamas out of power. Because if the terror regime that did October 7th continues to rule Gaza, it will only start the clock until the next war, and we don't want the next war. So what Israel is offering now is anyone who is holding hostages, come out with your hands above your head, surrender, release the hostages, and we will let you leave the Gaza Strip and live. But if you are going to continue holding on to the hostages and waging war against Israel, then we will continue to fight and we will defeat you.
Right now, world leaders, including Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, have expressed hope that this will soon lead to the end of war. This would be a big reason to start anticipating that the war will end soon. But you're saying that to secure Gaza and to save innocent lives from being lost, you want Hamas to lay down weapons and to return your hostages. What is your sense of what's happening on ground right now in Gaza after the elimination of their top leader?
After the October 7th massacre, Israel decided to launch a campaign to dismantle Hamas's military. And what began as an organized terrorist army with over 30,000 soldiers has been shattered. It's no longer acting like a terrorist army. It's a guerrilla force. You had even the leader, Yahya Sinwar, clearly on the run, fighting with a stick. Hamas is no longer a serious terrorist army, but it is still a threat. It still has the ability to shoot some rockets at Israel. It is still holding on to Israeli hostages. And we have to make sure, now that Hamas is on its knees, now that its leaders have been killed, that it isn't given a chance to regroup and rebuild. And unfortunately, world leaders who are calling for a ceasefire with Hamas are calling to save Hamas at its weakest moment. What needs to happen now is this. Hamas's new leader, Khalid Mashal, lives in Qatar. Qatar is a Western ally. Western countries have leverage over Qatar. They need to demand that Qatar force Hamas to surrender immediately or else be extradited to the United States to face justice. Sinwar started this war on October 7th, and hopefully the elimination of Sinwar gives an opportunity to end that war.
Right, but with the elimination of Sinwar, are you saying that Hamas still has the strength to fight back? Also, who's next on Israel's list, on Israel's radar? Someone who could perhaps be chosen as the successor of Sinwar. Is there any such top Hamas leader?
Israel has reduced what was once a professional terrorist army to a guerrilla force, and they're still fighting and they're still refusing to release the hostages, including a baby. Hamas abducted a 9-month-old baby over a year ago. He is still a hostage. Israel has vowed we will bring to justice every perpetrator of the October 7th massacre. They will all be brought to account. We've seen the whole leadership of Hamas has been killed. Yahya Sinwar, Ismail Haniyeh, Salah al-Aruri, Mohammed Def, Marwan Issa, they are all gone. Hamas has now lost. It's lost. It's over. And whoever takes over will need to know that if they know what is good for them, they should lay down their arms and surrender, because otherwise Israel is going to keep going down the list until it brings to justice every single perpetrator of the October 7th massacre, not out of vengeance for what happened last year, but in order to prevent the next one. This is the key point. After October 7th, Hamas vowed to do this again and again until Israel is destroyed, because it is a jihadi terrorist organization that wants to destroy the state of Israel. So Israel is going after the rest of Hamas while fighting, let's remember, on 7 fronts. We are under attack on 7 fronts, from Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, terrorists in the West Bank, the Houthi pirates in Yemen, Iranian militias in Iraq, in Syria. The Iranian regime itself fired nearly 200 ballistic missiles at us just 2 weeks ago, and Israel will continue to push its enemies away so that we can get our people home safely.
Right. With its leader eliminated, are you saying that if you call off the war at this instant, it will help them to gain their strength back and to reorganize and regroup?
Of course. Hamas wants to survive the war that it started. And Hamas's strategy for surviving the war is to generate as much humanitarian suffering in Gaza as possible, hoping that the world will pressure Israel to go back to the world that existed on October 6th. Hamas wants to rebuild its army in Gaza. It wants to smuggle more rockets into Gaza. It wants to take humanitarian aid and concrete to build more tunnels. And the world needs to be clear. This ends after October 7th. The Hamas terror regime can no longer govern the Gaza Strip and will open a new and better future for Israelis and Palestinians alike.
Mr. Levy, before I let you go, what is your message to the people of Gaza? What would you like to say?
That this war has gone on for too long. This war started because your psychopath leaders declared war on October 7th with a barbaric and sadistic massacre, and too many of you took part. Your suffering is heartbreaking. You should blame your psychopath leaders who launched this war and chose to fight this war from inside homes and schools and hospitals. And I hope that the removal of Hamas will remove the major obstacle to peace between us.
Right.
But for it to happen, we need you to accept that the state of Israel is here.
Right. But you're saying that the war will not end before every single Hamas leader or Hamas member lays down weapons, surrenders, and returns your hostages. Thank you very much, Mr. Levy, for joining us on the broadcast.